So welcome to the Warriors at Work podcast. I'm excited to bring this to you both video and audio. And as you know, I started these podcasts to be in service to the business community and profile the stories, the experience, and the wisdom of warriors that are in the workplace, whether you're in corporate America, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. This is all to provide you additional wisdom and insight. And about 8 weeks ago, I had this idea of highlighting entrepreneurs at various levels. Those that are just in the startup phase, those that are scaling, and those that have been in it for the long term. And then COVID-19 hit. So then I said, wait a second, let's go and talk to entrepreneurs who have weathered various business cycles, have a lot of wisdom that could serve the greater good, not just the entrepreneurials out there, but the greater workplace. So enter Dan Cronin, Rob Molinaro of Course Communications. I'm excited to have you both in this conversation today. So thank you, Rob. Thank you, Dan, for being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
Happy to be here.
So let me tell you a little bit about these two, because they have a very unique story, and then we're going to get into it. Rob and Dan met in high school, mind you, in northern New Jersey. They founded Course Communications in 1995, and together they've created this award-winning technology consultancy firm, which is really important right now. They do everything from telecom to IT to cloud computing, disaster recovery, cybersecurity, various collaboration tools, and most importantly, underline, is they have tremendous expertise in the world of remote working. And these two are busier than ever. So the timing of this conversation was right on point, and I'm excited to share their wisdom, their best practices, and the tools and perspective that they're seeing right now that can help all of us. And then after we talk about where we are today, we're going to take a step back and go deeper into the story of who Dan and Rob are and some of the tenets of the Course Communication brand. So let's get into it. So Dan, let's start with you. I would love for you to describe the environment right now that you're operating in. And you just think about just the last 3 or 4 weeks versus, what you were doing, what you were saying, what you were being 5-6 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah, that is a good thought for me right now, because I actually just recently looked at my meeting agendas from the beginning of March. And funny, the topics of conversations that we were having and really the benchmarks we were setting, the rules we were setting, really don't even apply right now. That's the most interesting part about it. The operative phrase for me right now, if I can say this, is that I feel like we're busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. That's what I feel like right now. And part of that is the message that I've put out to the world that, I'm an advocate of technology. I'm a 31-year veteran of technology. I'm passionate about technology. And I'm really curious and excited about how technology is being used to layer on top of the COVID vaccines that are being produced. So they're using AI technology to model, life cycle of vaccines and the behaviors, and they're using technology to expedite the cure, and that's interesting. I love the fact that there's people out there that are using technology to quantum leap their message out. And I think of the Chris Cuomo message from his basement. It's just really getting people down to the human element, which really strikes at the kind of core and heart of what Rob and I really have been shouting from the mountaintops for years and years and years, that we've always tried to build a technology company that showcases our personalities and our kind of who we are thing. So when I look back at the meeting topics that I was having in the beginning of March, here's what I'll say. The message really doesn't change, the metrics changed. So people are now, in an environment where 100% of the workforce has moved home. There are some companies out there that are in the A+ range for their preparedness, for how they were able to be prepared for a situation, not like what they thought might be maybe 30% of their workforce that are remoting in from home, because that's kind of like what we're used to with cloud communications. They're actually now having to handle a situation where 100% of the workforce has now moved home. And I can say that some of these companies, we handle some very large global call center companies that deal with compliance issues and remote worker issues, and they're absolutely still able to get it done. So what I would say from the conversations that we're having with our customers, really the message is the same. It's further dependence on technology. I would say that why we're so busy right now is that people were a little slow to react, and we started getting on a lot of conversations right now that might really kind of be short-term volunteer work to try to smooth out the edges for our customers, make sure they're in a good place vis-a-vis technology, and then and then probably the next 60 days, 90 days, we can start having some conversations with them as the whole world starts to enter into, hopefully, the first stage of recovery from that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's the other question I was thinking about for you, Rob. Tell me a little bit about the wisdom that you're drawing from. Think about all the business cycles that the two of you have been through. We're talking the big ones like the Y2Ks, the 9/11s, the financial crisis, the Hurricane Sandy. Think about all the wisdom that you're drawing upon, Rob. Tell me a little bit about that. What's really bubbling up for you? What are you hearing yourself say or exchange with clients?
Well, history repeats itself, right, Gene? So having gone through the Y2Ks, the Hurricane Sandys, the 9/11s, all those instances where people were shocked by those things, right? The message that we're communicating, at least I know I am in every instance, whether it's a partner or a customer, is we will get through this. We will break through to the other side of this. Now, you can apply that to the way companies do business. You can apply that to the way people interact. You can apply that to the financial sector. The thing we want to communicate to our community of customers and partners is don't give up and move forward. We will get through this. That's the biggest message that I'm conveying out there. And keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't break your cycle, whether that be exercise or whatever's in your daily chore. Keep doing it because it's going to be okay at the end.
So I guess what I'm wondering is I'm sure you're getting a lot of panic phone calls, and it was probably real intense 4 weeks ago. It's probably starting to feel a little bit more like this versus like that. How are you talking people off the ledge? Walk me through. So phone call comes into Dan or Rob. Give me a scenario.
I'll go first and say that we actually thought we were pretty proactive once we knew that people were going to be mass exiting to the home. We tried to be pretty proactive and put out offers, a call to action to join us for educational webinars, and we started calling out all of our subject matter experts in the areas of Microsoft Teams and Zoom and PGI's Global Meet and all these desktop collaboration tools to assemble and pull people together. And really that was the message, to pull together, to collaborate, to talk about what's important now, what is on the mind of the business owner. Now, to your point, Gene, what we realized very quickly is that people are literally in a state of primal fear. And when you're trying to talk to them about high-level technology issues and they're in fear of what the next 2 weeks might look like, we had to step back and kind of reframe it and say, let's start our messaging out with a little, kind of like Rob said, a bit of a message of comfort and that we're going to get through this and a future hope. By doing that, we were able to get our internal sales teams to change the way they're talking to their clients. And I think that's kind of where we are now. We're having a different conversation with our clients that starts with it's going to be okay. And let's talk about, what the big pile of technology hurdles that you have to go through. Let's break it down to what's possible now, and let's game plan it, break it down, and move forward.
And I hear that as like, and again, you have a 26-year ride here in terms of course communication. So you're very accustomed to being in partnership mode and collegial mode. But what I've just heard you describe is both of you are stepping into more of a trusted advisor position, where you're really the guide, the beacon that's helping people move through this with calm and clarity and focus and consistency. And I'm curious, Rob, from your perspective, when you think about that, have you had any surprises over the last 4 weeks where you're like, whoa, didn't see that coming? Anything come up for you that was a surprise? Or even a big lesson, something that you're like, oh, that was good. I didn't, again, that was a perspective that maybe I didn't think of before.
The surprise that I got, Gene, was hearing how many people out there that we're used to working in an office type environment, cubicles, tons of people around, that type of thing. I've been seeing a lot of information out there where people are like, hey, I wish my boss would only see that I'm actually as productive, if not more productive, working from home. So now listen, we're in the technology space. Dan and I, Chorus, has been preaching that for a long time. It's what we do. But that, to me, and seeing that over and over from people saying, hey, listen, it's okay. I can still get stuff done. And that's what we're seeing. That's the biggest surprise, is that it's actually not being us pushing to them to say, hey, listen, this is what you should do or what you should think about. It's them coming to us saying, you know what? I'm okay where I'm at. The message that we're trying to convey right now on that future thought that Dan just talked about, Gene, this is what we're telling as advisors to companies right now. We're asking them not to wait in the queue. You've been on the queue. Everybody's been on the queue. You call an airline, you call a company that delivers service to you. Thank you for calling. You're the 35th caller. Please don't hang up. Your call will be answered in the order of which it was received. We anticipate at Chorus, and the message we're putting out to our partners right now is, don't get stuck in the queue. Let your customers know now that they know what the future is going to look like. They know that they're going to be working from home. That's probably going to be the new norm. Not probably. That will be the new norm. So what are you doing now while you have the time to prepare yourself for that versus waiting till it's all over, Jane, and then waiting in the queue? Don't wait in the queue.
You know, I was reading an article, Entrepreneur Magazine did an article about 2 weeks ago about entrepreneurs being a key piece to our growth, our evolution, our ingenuity, our creativity. And they were talking about key characteristics of an entrepreneur. And I just want to read some of them to you. And I'm curious which one of these are resonating. And if you want to add one, feel free. The first is being self-motivated, understanding what you offer, taking risks, knowing how to network. And then, of course, there's basic money management and knowledge. The other ones that I think are important is things like conviction and strength. Which one of those that I just said resonates, and what's not on that list? Especially right now. So just think about your world last 4 weeks. Like what have you personally been drawing upon?
Conviction and strength. I mean, every message, Gene, right now, and I just discussed this morning on our staff meeting call. I said, listen, your message to your customer, to your partner, to the person that you do business with, or you have a personal relationship with, needs to be a simple one. You don't want to hit people with a diatribe of information and white papers and here's all this data you need. My message, and I'm hitting about 15 people a day via email. with a simple message. Chorus checking in the subject line. Hi, John. I hope you're doing well, first and foremost. These are interesting times. Let us know how we can help you. Be safe.
Love it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
what do you think?
So I would actually, I think that's a great, those are some great bullet points to describe the average entrepreneurial mind. So that's kind of tough to beat, but I definitely would say to the determination thing, I actually just wrote down a saying that I read, the difference between the impossible and the possible lies in a man's determination. So I have that in my iPhone right now to kind of stare me in the face every day. And I look at, my notes that I submitted to you weeks ago, that you will succeed to the extent that you really believe you can. That kind of goes to what you're saying about determination. And I would say that the trustor advisor approach that Rob and I have incorporated really for 31 years, but Chorus since 1995, the trusted advisor, the determination, the conviction, and the absolute belief that we absolutely believe in our methodologies to deploy these technologies, that we really believe, to Rob's point about that, don't wait around. The message we're trying to say to these clients is that, look, this wasn't going to be a 30-day shut-in. Right now, statistically, they're talking about a significant amount of businesses that might not make it back. Now, we learned a lot of lessons post 9/11, and the number one thing we learned was about data replication and remote storage of your data. And those lessons are being perfected. Another saying that comes to my mind is that sometimes through a negative precipitation can come a positive result. And so we're trying to message to our clients that, this isn't going to be over in 30 days, and we need to have a technology discussion with you, because the remote worker, 38% of businesses that do return back to the traditional office scenario, they're saying 38% of the people will not come back. They will stay remote workers. So there's companies that right now have pulled back and taken a look at their cost per square foot, their need set for employees, and realized they don't need 300 people in an office building. They might only need 50, 60 critical staff in a building, and the rest of those people can work in remotely. So these are the conversations that we're having with clients right now to say, let's not think about this as a temporary. This is long-term thinking from now on.
You know what you're also hitting on too is like that's going to have a trickle down effect. That's going to force organizations to rethink how they're organized. Period.
Right now.
Supply chain, everything is going to be related to that technology anchor. Everything. How we're distributing products, how we're doing everything. Which actually leads me to my next question is, like, what do you see? Let's just focus on the next 30 to 60 days, because I think anything beyond that, my mind's going to explode. But what are the trends? What are you expecting to see more of? Whether it's cycles, whether it's perspective, what's it going to look like? And then we can take a stab at like maybe over the next 3 to 6 months. So what are you looking for in the near term? Either one of you.
I would answer that by saying that having sat in on a lot of meetings and discussions with people, a lot of the business people or business owners that I'm talking to, we shared ideas on what is this COVID-19 and what is its impact and what's the real risk, right? There was that part of the conversation. Then there was, what is the economic impact of what's happening to us globally? And then that kind of leads into the conversation of, okay, how does this affect Chorus's ability to serve you? How does this affect Chorus's ability to have discussions with you vis-a-vis technology to improve your ability to report on who's calling you, who you're calling, and what's the relationship between that and your profitability? How can we increase your communications efficiency through collaboration tools? How can we give you point and click marketing and analytics to help you drive your business and make better informed business decisions? Those are the conversations that we're very excited, because Rob and I in Chorus, we're very well positioned and very well prepared because that's always been our mantra. If you go to our website, it says everything technology. We ooze trusted advisor. That's our whole business.
Rob, what would you add?
Okay, what I would add is 30-60, right? So 30-60 days, this is what's going to happen. First and foremost, I believe we live in an unbelievable country. We do. Where else in the globe, Gene, can you see the government stepping up to offer aid to companies to act as a bridge for the next 30-60? People are applying. I hope everybody gets it. That's what people are focused on. How do I keep things intact over the next 30-60? And that's where being in America, we're blessed there. So we're going to probably get a little stimulus with that. After the 60, 90 plus, and I just had this conversation this morning with people from the neighborhood about 15 feet away, okay, was, okay, what's going to be the new social distance norms? Is everybody going to go back to shaking hands, hugging, like that? We would hope so, right? Something tells me it's probably not going to be that. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, but the world has to look at what has happened here and learn from it. So there's going to be change. There's going to be change to the way people interact, the way we all interact, personally and professionally. Look back on 9/11. That was a dramatic shift in the world. There have been massive changes as a result of that. I look at this no differently, but they're not all negative. There'll be a positive side to that.
All right, so my final question here is top 2 pieces of advice. Anybody who's watching this right now, whether they're an entrepreneur or they're working in a large corporation, and they're watching and listening to this story and to your points of view and your thinking, what are the top 2 things that come to mind to say, okay, we got to be thinking about this and this? So Rob, you go first.
Okay. First and foremost, I would tell anybody, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working for a company, is to mind your health. Okay? Every day, you should put your health as a priority. And I'm not just talking about, Gene, in response to the COVID-19 situation. Certainly, you need to be hyper aware of that. But foundationally, you should make sure that your temple, your person, is in a healthy state at all given times. First and foremost. Second is to plan. So not panic, but plan for the future. What do you want it to look like on the other side? Right? Now, from a personal perspective, I'll give people this advice because I'm doing it myself, right? You need to find things that will keep your mind occupied, right? In a very positive manner. So like some of the things that I've been doing, and they're actually literally right behind me here in the picture. Not the guitar, but you'll see a couple of things sitting on my credenza there. Don't ask me why, but I just started getting into this thing. I turned the basement of our office into a wood shop. And I've been making things that, to me, symbolize life. They're birdhouses.
Wow.
Okay. I took it to another level, though, also as a way to connect with the companies that we're doing business with, and not hit them with the doom and gloom. What are you doing? Oh my God, let's all drown in sorrow here, right together. So if you don't mind, I'll turn around real quick and show you. We get gifts. We get gifts from companies during Christmas time, right? I'm trying to angle this here. But this here is a birdhouse that I made on a branded box with a product that we do business with called Vonage. It's one of the top products that we sell. They do a great job. They've helped a lot of companies get through this. So I found the box and I said, what can I do with this thing? So I repurposed it.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to go up there on social media. We did this for another company as well. It's 7,000 views within their circle. So it wasn't about business. It wasn't about, hey, here's a product to fix that or this. It was more like, hey, man, there's a symbol of life and hope here, right? This is my way in my own mind to address that. And that's the best thing I could tell people. It's like, you could do something like this with your kids.
Right.
You know, that's something. So
I love it, Rob. Thank you. Dan, what about you? Top 2 things that come to mind.
So your question was, what advice would I have for people?
Yeah.
The first thing that I would say is, just like what we said post 9/11, did you learn the lesson? Did you get the lesson? Do you get the lesson that the universe is speaking to us here? I notice when I go outside, I don't hear airplanes in the sky. I come out at night, I don't hear airplanes in the sky. I see my tulips are popping up. I see the green coming back on the trees. The spring is coming. The universe is carrying on, same as it ever was. I think the message is to humanity. Kind of sewing into Rob's point about sustainability and repurposing and being good to our environment and not throwing away trash, discarding it as though it's not your problem anymore. I think the world is being reminded that there is an ecosystem out there and there is a delicate balance. That's the first thing I would say. I wrote down just a couple of things to answer your question. I would advise people during this time, measure more often. There's great analytical tools out there from Microsoft and Apple that can help businesses really check the metrics on the people that they're providing a paycheck to. And right now, we're in a time of pulling together and coming together. So I would say measure more often, really look at what are your people's daily behaviors and tasks, and where are their inefficiencies. And, again, that's something that Chorus is very effective on, helping companies understand and get a control over what that actual metric situation really looks like. I would try to push people's minds to focus on a thrive, once we get through this, not just survive. Like the average people who have just say, hey, I'm going to be defensive and I'm just going to hunker down and wait till this is, they tell us we can go out again. I would say, no, think about a thrive mentality. How can I use this time right now? If I'm now still locked in the house for another 30 plus days, how can I use this time to be more regimented, to be more focused on health and mental well-being, and et cetera, et cetera? And how can I use this time to spend more quality time with my kids? Because this is a time in our life, we may never have this time in our life again. I would say surround yourself with the dreamers. Surround yourself with positive thinkers, and maybe do an assessment of all of the people that are influencing your thinking right now.
Yeah.
And it's not political. That's a whole separate conversation. It's humanistic. Are these people assets or liabilities to the way that you're forming your ideas and your go forward? So I would lastly say, surround yourself with non-judgmental people. This is a time right now for us to get the message that, this is not a time for judgment. This is a time for pulling together, and how can we help each other? And I know that's the message that Rob and I kind of inherently put it out to our people, our team of salespeople, our selling partners, our customers, and our potential customers. And when I look back on it, I kind of give us high marks, because that was the first thing we did. We put out a message of positivity and a message of, let's go. Whether you're my customer or not, if you need my help, I'm on board. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a beautiful way to end the conversation. There's an expression I've been using a lot lately, which is, your mindset is your master.